In my previous video, we learned about web scraping, and we opened a website. We opened a local website um, within our file system, and we scraped through that. So that was an HTML simple file, and we learned how to open the site and then go through the elements within that site. Now today, I'm going to go through web scraping of an external website. An external website is any website which is hosted in the web using any of the regular hosting services. So this is an actual website which we're going to scrape. This is more fun because this is actually we're getting closer to what we really need to do in terms of the use cases that we'd have. So for this example today, I'm going to use a website which I have created myself, and it is hosted in one of the free hosting services, and we will use the same methodology to host through the site. Now I do want to teach you to sort of understand that when you are externally scraping a website, you need to import a couple of more modules, and we'll talk about that as well. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I've got a website called the Learning Track website. So I've created this website in the Heroku app. Now if you don't know what's Heroku app basically is a a cloud-based free web hosting app, and you can try out creating websites in that app, and you can buy that as well. So if there are too many requests coming in into your website, then you can buy that website as well. So it's a good way to learn how to start using external website. So that's Heroku app. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape through this website externally, and as you can see, this is a proper login logout website. So obviously you cannot get into the logged in page of the user, and this is kind of a learning log which a user can create for himself, and he can create topics within those learning logs, and then he can talk about those topics, and it is specific to each user. So if I log out, then it will not allow me to see my logs within that, or it will not allow you to see the log of another user. So we're not going to all of that. We just are going to scrape the first screen here. So all that we're going to do is this particular heading, and then we're going to scrape this summary below that. So just a simple understanding of how to scrape the website. Now first thing first, for what we need to do for doing scraping is we need to import something called as a requests library. Now I have already imported this, but if you haven't, then sorry, we need to install this. So if you haven't installed it, what you need to do is go pip3 install and say requests, and it will download it. Now in my case it's already installed, so I don't have to do it, but let me just explain to you if you hadn't. Let me just uninstall mine, and so this is how you uninstall a pip site. So if I say uninstall and say yes, it will uninstall everything that is there in my system, and now I can reinstall it. So I'm going to say pip3 install requests, requests requests. Okay, just remember the spelling is important. So it goes ahead and reinstalls it. And for this particular exercise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another parser called the lxml parser. In the last exercise we had used the HTML5 lib parser. This time I'm going to use lxml parser. There is no difference between both of them as far as regular users, you and me, are concerned. They're pretty much same, but I just want to give you a context of how to do a different parser versus the previous parser that we used. So I've already installed lxml parser. If you haven't, again same process, pip install lxml, and it will install it. As you can see, in my case is already satisfied. Now let's open our Python file, and I'm gonna keep it here nice and tidy. And what I will do is I will open a file. I'll save a file. So let's save the file as Control Command S. So I'm gonna save it as scrape.py. Okay, it already exists. I'm just gonna call another name, maybe scrapey. Okay, I'm going to replace that and create a file. Okay, I just created a file called scrapey.py and I'm going to use this file to scrape the website. So first thing first, what you need to do is you need to import your BeautifulSoup, and we had installed, if you remember in the previous exercise, we had installed BS4. If you haven't seen my previous video, go install BS4, pip install BS4. In my case is already satisfied, and once you've installed BS4, which is BeautifulSoup 4, from that you can extract the BeautifulSoup module and start using it. So I'm going to say from BS4 import BeautifulSoup, and I'm going to give it a shorter name because BeautifulSoup is a very long name. I'm going to call it just BS, for context. So I'm also going to import the lxml parser, and I'm also going to import the requests library. Now all this is what we needed really. We just need to have these three guys downloaded. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable, and then we're going to place that entire object that we create out of this particular file into that variable. So let's say source is what we're going to create, and we put into source, we put request dot get. So this is like your JavaScript get request, right? So there are different types of requests, as you would know. There is post request, this is get request. Get request is when you go to website and request them to get data. If you want to post something into the website, you put a post request. So today we're going to use the get method of the request library. Okay, so here we have to put the website. So I'm going to copy the website here and I'm going to put it here. Okay, so my website is put here. Now this will return an object which will then be placed into source. Okay, so now if I say print source and command B, it says response is 200. What response 200 means is that our file has worked, so we can print whatever we want to if we have got it. So if we say print.text, whatever the text is there inside that data has come here. So as you can see the entire data here. Now this is obviously in HTML format, so you would struggle to see it as you want to see it, but if it was not in the HTML format, you could have seen it nice and clearly. There is a method called prettify which you can use within the context, and sorry, you'll have to create another object to do that. I'm doing too many things. So which you can use to sort of see this area. Now what has happened is we haven't used the BeautifulSoup, so this is taking this object and showing the object. This is really not a workable file, so we have to download it through the BeautifulSoup parser, and which is what I'm going to do now. Now we got source. Now I'm going to put it in soup, and we are going to run it via the BeautifulSoup. So what BeautifulSoup does is that it takes that object and parses it via the XML library and gives you an output which is HTML readable output, and you can then start going through that output as you would in a HTML text format. Okay, so here I'm going to put my source. Okay, and remember when you're typing XML, put it under the two apostrophes, lxml, so you have to put it under the quotes like this. Okay, so this is a syntax to get the soup out. Now once you have gotten the soup out, then you can print the soup here, and now you can give it text, or you can give it prettify and run it. Oops, I think we need to return a text object here, probably that's the reason. Okay, so and the source that we have created needs to have a text object here. So once we have the source created here, that's when we would be able to get the data, parsed through. So now let's just run this beautiful soup and say beautiful soup here, and say source here, and comma here, and say lxml here, and now let's say print and say soup and say run. So now we are able to get this content in our file system, and this time it has come in an HTML format, as you can see. So the entire data onto your right is now parsed here. Now obviously I don't want to see the entire data because there's a lot of junk here. So what I can do is I can prettify this whole thing and see it in slightly better context. Okay, so this looks slightly better, but again, as you can see, there is a lot of other contents which we don't probably want to see, like this meta char set and content and blah blah, the link, the nav bar, all of these things. So probably when you're going through a website, you want to see some of the gist. So here, what is that gist that you want to see? All right, so what I want to see is, I want to see the headline, which is track your learning, and I want to see the summary. So let's just see where is the track your learning here. And the track your learning is here. It's embedded inside this this div, and the class is jumbotron, and it is under A1. So with this particular information, you can easily parse that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to call that, so let's just call that as title, and we will say soup, and there is a find method which we have used in our previous parsing. So use find, and find gets two parameters. So the first parameter that we need to put there is the div tag which is there. So I'm going to put the div tag, and then the second parameter it would ask for is the class under which is there. Remember, the class is not the Python class, this is the HTML class. So we are going to give a class and then an underscore, and within the class I'm going to say jumbo tron. So jumbotron. Now with that inside, I'm going to say title, and hopefully it should print that particular data. Okay, so you can see that it has printed the data here. Now I haven't removed my print soup here because I want to get a couple of more data points. I want to get this as well, the next level of data which is available here. So I want to get that as well. So what I will do here is, I'm going to say summary, and in the summary I would say give me soup.find, and within the soup.find again I'm going to use the div, and I'm going to use so this time it's embedded here within h2. So instead of using the class here, I'm simply going to say h2. Okay, so anything, the first thing which is going to come in h2, I should be able to get it. Okay, and because it is, I want to see that only in the text format, so I don't want to see the rest of the stuff which is there. And here also I just want to see the text, I don't want to see the tags and all of that stuff, right? And I'm going to say print summary, and if I say that, then it says track your learning, and here I've made a mistake and I'm trying to see what it is. I'm just going to say h2. Let's see which is the first h2 which comes up, and this one should definitely work. Yeah, so h2 has worked. So because it was not under a div, that the div class was not coming in. So now as you can see that I'm able to pull out the h2 here, and I'm able to see whatever data is there within that. Okay, and I can also do find all the h2s if I want to. So I can run a loop here for say x, or say summary. Let's just keep it as summary. In soup find all underscore h2, print the summary. So anything with this particular format, it should get it. Hang on, there's a syntax error here. Okay, I forgot in. So for summary in soup, find, and this is why typing everything is much better sometimes, h2 dot txt, and then I'm going to say print summary. Oops. Okay, we got it. So it was a syntax error again. So it was for summary in soup, soup dot find underscore all h2 dot, let's just put it as text. Okay, so we can see it exactly in the text format. Okay, the text is not coming. I'll put it here, summary dot text. Okay, so we can do a find all and find all the h2 elements also there. So let me just comment this out so that we don't see this particular part. So you see clearly we got the title, which is the title here, and we got the summary, which is the register and account, blah 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 blah, and we got, what we did is we found the title here, and then we ran a loop here to find all the h2 tags which were there in this particular file. So as you can see, with for loop you can find the h2 tag here. Now we had only 2 h2 tag here. Now imagine if this file had 10 h2 or 15 h2, we would have had to write 15 lines of code, and with just one for loop we are able to pull out the entire h2 in the entire file. So that's the fun part about looping through tags within your web scraped website, and this is how you are able to scrape data and find what you want to find, put a get request, and that start using websites, and you're able to pull data out of that website. And this is how a lot of websites typically make a living, because they scrape other websites and they make a living out of that. So as I said, Google started this journey, but today it's very common to see all other websites doing that. Alright, so that was all about it. We had some bit of code error, and I think it's absolutely fine, because that's how a regular code working happens. You don't have to worry about it, just have to play around with it. Nothing's gonna break. Something might break in between, but hey, nobody's perfect, so just play along, have a great time and enjoy yourselves. Bye.